started. All right. Good morning, everyone. My name is Brianne Chang, and I use she, her pronouns, and I'm the manager for the Global Internships Program. Welcome to the first but not last Studying Abroad for First Generation Students session. We're really excited to share some helpful tips with you all and hear from a student alumni panel. But I will allow my colleagues on the call to introduce themselves as well before we get started. I'll pass it to you, Alex.
Hi, everybody. My name is Alex Tan, and I'm the manager for the Berkeley Summer Abroad courses. So those are faculty-led study abroad courses that travel over summer. And I will pass it to Gigi.
Hi, everyone. My name is Gigi Estilo. I go by she, her pronouns. I am the Berkeley Study Abroad Advisor for the UCEAP programs in most of our Asia regions, China, Hong Kong, Korea, Japan, Singapore, Taiwan, and Thailand. And then I also wanted to introduce our three amazing panelists who you will be hearing from later today. Did you all want to go ahead and quickly introduce yourself, Rick, Alma, and Laura?
Yeah, I'll go ahead. Good morning, everyone. It's a pleasure to meet you all. My name is Rick. I'm a current senior here at Cal, an English literature major, and I went abroad this past summer utilizing the Global Internships Program. I went to Sweden, and I am currently also a Berkeley Study Abroad peer advisor, and I look forward to, relaying my experience with you guys.
I can go next. Hi, everyone. My name is Laura. My pronouns are she, hers. I'm currently a junior studying conservation and resource studies and minoring in public policy. And my study abroad experience was in Costa Rica, summer 2021 and summer 2022, doing sea turtle research. And I'm excited to share my experience with you today.
Hi, everyone. My name is Salma Rodriguez. I use the she, her, ella pronouns. I am a sociology major. I'm also a senior. I did this study abroad in this past summer, and I went to Barcelona, and I was able to take my kids as a student parent, and I'm happy to share my experience with you in a minute. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much. We look forward to hearing about your experiences later on in the presentation. And we also wanted to give a special shout out to our campus collaborators. We have in the room, UC Berkeley, UCLA, UC Santa Barbara, UC Davis, UC Merced, UC San Diego, UC Irvine, UC Riverside, UC Santa Cruz, and of course, UCEAP, or University of California Education Abroad Program. Next slide, please. Before we begin our session, we would like to name and acknowledge that UC Berkeley sits on the territory of Huichin, the ancestral and unceded land of the Chochenyo-speaking Muwekma Ohlone people. Muwekma Ohlone people, and that every member of the Berkeley community has and continues to benefit from the use and occupation of this land since the institution's founding in 1868. As members of the Berkeley community, it is vitally important that we not only recognize the history of the land on which we stand, but also we recognize that the Muwekma Ohlone people are alive and flourishing members of the Berkeley and broader Bay Area communities today. We know that land acknowledgements are incomplete, but are a first step. So please think about where you are and what commitments you can make to recognize and support land back or other types of actions that can support our Indigenous communities. Next slide, please. All right, so for today, here's a quick breakdown of our agenda and what we will be discussing. For example, we'll be talking about why study abroad, where and how can we study abroad, application information, financial aid and scholarships, your first steps to getting those additional resources. And then, as I'd mentioned earlier, we'll have our student alumni panel where we will hear from our three wonderful panelists. So first of all, why study abroad? There are many reasons why you might want to study abroad. And in the end, it is a personal choice. You might have a personal interest or connection to a location and its history, or maybe you want to get work experience in terms of expanding on your professional development, exploring different career options, or finding out where you want to live and work after graduation. You could also be going abroad to fulfill major, minor, or breadth requirements, learn a language, or simply take classes for fun. There are a number of reasons to go abroad, and we'll talk about some of those opportunities as well. Next slide, please. So where and how can you study abroad? The University of California Education Abroad Program, or UCEAP, has over 400 programs in 40 different countries and regions. There are also your campus opportunities to study abroad. And when deciding your experiences, there are 5 primary types of experiences. There's immersion, language, internship, research, or themed. An immersion experience is what you might picture more of a traditional study abroad program, in which you essentially do an exchange at the host institution, and you're a student participating at the university, taking classes with local students and faculty. Language is pretty self-explanatory, as it states. It's a language intensive program or a language specific program. We also have internship and research opportunities. And lastly, the themed programs focus on courses centered around a certain theme or topic. You can also expand your program search via your campus program offerings. For example, UC Berkeley has the global internships or summer abroad programs. But if you don't find what you're looking for, you can also explore independent programs as well. I'll go ahead and pass it over to Alex.
Thanks, and hi everybody, and super excited to talk to you as well. And so you may be kind of asking that question: is studying abroad for me? And for first generation students, as the first in your family to attend college, it can sometimes seem daunting to also be the first in your family to study abroad, or to navigate how do I study abroad. And your family may, it's like, often that families may have a lot of questions or concerns, or about what does it mean to go abroad, and all those kinds of things. And there's, as Gigi had touched on, there's a lot of really great things that you can kind of learn from your study abroad experience. There's a lot of amazing reasons to go abroad that Rick and Laura and Alma are going to talk about in the panel as well. And we want to remind you that you already have what it takes to be successful at studying abroad, because you have already successfully navigated your home campus as a first-gen student, which really is no small feat. And so we wanted to highlight the fact that the skills that you possess as a first-gen student, which include perseverance, resiliency, resourcefulness, code switching, and bravery, these are all exactly the skills that it takes to succeed in a study abroad experience. So navigating, for example, perseverance, navigating a large institution is challenging, and so is studying abroad. And your ability to forge a new path for yourself and your family is a strength and a skill that prepares you to do the same abroad. And resiliency, in addition to being first gen, you've lived through a global pandemic, recession. There's so much going on, and yet still able to bounce back and overcome those obstacles. And studying abroad, presents and throws new challenges at your way. And the practice that you have in gaining skills to be resilient will also allow you to be successful in those circumstances as you're adapting to cultural differences. Resourcefulness, and it's no secret. I'm a Berkeley alum, and can also attest to that. UC and UC Berkeley can sometimes be a beast to navigate. It can be a really challenging place to navigate in a lot of ways. And in the ways that you've been able to navigate campus resource centers, connect with support, these skills will also benefit you abroad as you are navigating your experience. And then code switching, it's likely that many of you may do code switch regularly when talking to family, professors, friends, or different people within the university. And depending on where you choose to go abroad, You may be navigating different languages or cultural differences with respect to communication, and your ability to move and adapt between and code switch in those various ways is also a skill that you'll be able to take abroad as you're kind of feeling out what does it mean and what does it look like to be in this new space. And next slide, please. So in terms of general application information, we also wanted to give some information on, who can access, a little bit more on who can access. And so eligibility for, whether that's a UCEAP program or a summer abroad program, global internships, it's based on class level, GPA, and some programs have language requirements. So you can look on the websites, or you can meet with us in advising for specific programs, because each does have a bit of a different requirement depending on the program. But that said, we want to highlight that most programs are not competitive. We figure you've already done the hard work to get into a UC, so we don't want to make it hard for you to study abroad. We're really just trying to pair you with the right program. So most programs are non-competitive, but some do have capacity maximums. So it's important to apply early in the process to make sure that you're admitted to your first choice program. And UCEAP applications are a bit of a different process from campus-based application processes, and mostly in timeline. So we just recommend that if you're looking at EAP programs, that you're looking 6 months to 1 year in advance. Whereas, for example, for global internships, those applications opens very soon in December for the following summer. So that's a little bit of a compressed timeline, as well as summer abroad. Like those don't open until March of next year. So February of next year, sorry. So if you're not able to plan 6 months to a year in advance, there's also still options available to you. But we do recommend that longer timeline so you can plan for the full breadth of what programs might be available to you. Next slide, please. So financial aid and scholarships. So one of the great things is as a UC student, financial aid will travel with you if you participate on a UCEAP program or a UC campus-based program, no matter what the UC campus is. So if you're a Berkeley student and you find a Davis summer program that is a good fit, your financial aid will travel with you. If you're a UCI student and you find a Berkeley program, your aid will travel with you. So that's one of the great things about being a UC student, is that all of these programs are available to you. And to be eligible for aid, you just have to make sure that you are generally eligible for aid. So that you have completed your FAFSA or California DREAM Act application, and that you're taking a full course load while abroad. So that's 6 semester units or 9 quarter units. And every program under UCEAP or UC campus-based programs, they all have options for you to hit those minimum units to qualify for aid. Program costs and costs of living do differ by location. And so we really recommend also meeting with your campus financial aid team to understand better what your package is going to be. There's often a myth also that study abroad is going to be more expensive than your time at Cal or at any UC. That may or may not be true. Certain experiences, for example, sometimes even semester-long experiences, may be the same price or cheaper. It depends on the cost of living also in the place that you're going. So we recommend really meeting with the advisor for your program, as well as your campus-based financial aid team, so that you can get a full sense of what your actual costs may be. And in addition, we highly recommend a few scholarships. So the Gilman Scholarship is available for students who are Pell eligible. That is a great scholarship that can fund up to $5,000 for participation in a study abroad program. There are UCEAP global scholarships, academic and departmental scholarships that you can look into. So check the scholarship section of your campus website, because there may be more opportunities for scholarships and funding that go beyond financial aid as well. Next slide, please. Just as the first steps, some of the things that we recommend are to research the programs and choose the best fit. So you can meet with advisors, look on the website. There's a lot of different ways that you can start doing that. It's also important to talk with your academic advisors, so to talk with your college or major advisor to determine what's the best time for you to go abroad, so they can help you with that. And they can also help you decide if you need to fulfill major or other types of academic requirements while abroad, or if you or if you can take things more for interest and for fun outside of your major. So that's something that's important. Review what courses are available on the program and determine if you can fulfill major and minor breadth requirements. And come to peer advising or schedule an appointment with one of the advisors to talk through the process and ask questions. And then all of the applications are online too. And just as another reminder, you already have what it takes to be successful at studying abroad. And so we're really excited also to support you in that process. And I'll pass it off to Brianne.
Sorry there, I was unmuted. Thank you so much, Alex. So in terms of some additional questions to consider, and in addition to the tangible first steps to take on your study abroad journey, we encourage you all to consider this list of questions and reflect on the following questions. So in terms of personal planning, if no one in your family has studied abroad, who can you go to for insight on their study abroad experience? Does your campus have a team of peer advisors, some of which that may identify as first gen that you can hear from their personal experiences? You may also want to connect with your academic advisor for academic planning. Ask yourself, do you want to go abroad to complete your major and minor classes, your breadth classes, or take unrelated classes? And what requirements, if any, are you looking to fulfill abroad? Who can you go to with questions about integrating study abroad into your curriculum? Is it your major advisor? Is it those peer advisors maybe on your home campus? You may also want to consider your support systems while you travel abroad. So in terms of your family and friends, is it important for you to stay close to your family and friends? And if you are traveling halfway around the world, what can you do to stay connected to your family and friends? Before I traveled abroad, I pre-identified some friends to let them know, like, hey, can we set up some Zoom, or back in the day for me, it was Skype, some Skype appointments or Skype dates, so that we can check in and just be able to reflect back, and talk to someone who knows you really well, to be able to share those great stories with each other. And then if your family and friends are not familiar with study abroad, how will you explain it to them? You'll be going through so many new experiences, and what are ways that you can overcome that and bridge that connection? And, in terms of funding, how do you plan to fund your time abroad? Can financial aid help you to cover study abroad expenses, or are there any other scholarships available specifically for first-gen students? Many of our various campuses also have budgeting and funding resources, so I encourage you all to connect with your campus financial aid office for additional support for budgeting. So this next one is a QR code. This is a resource on talking to your loved ones about studying away from our colleagues at UC Santa Cruz. It's a really great resource that outlines some great questions to discuss with your family. I know for me, as a daughter of immigrant parents, it was really hard to explain to them why I wanted to go abroad when they did so much to sacrifice for me to have my education here in the US. And this resource, as I was reading over it, really resonated with me and my own experience. So I hope it is useful for you all as well. And don't worry if you aren't able to scan this now or you didn't get those questions. We are moving through this quite quickly so that we can make time for our wonderful alumni panelists. These slides and the recording will be sent out to all registrants, so you can refer back to them at a later time. So without further ado, we are going to transition to our panel, and I'll give folks another opportunity to reintroduce themselves and share a little bit more about what program they attended before we go into the questions. Rick, do you want to start?
Yeah, I'll begin. As I said before, I'm an English major, and this past summer, a group of myself and other Berkeley students went abroad to Stockholm, Sweden. It was a phenomenal experience. I can't talk enough about it. And yeah, that's pretty much the overview, but we'll get more into the details as the questions come along.
So hi everyone. Again, my name is Alma Rodriguez. I'm a sociology major and Chicano studies minor. I did the summer abroad 2022 this past summer in Barcelona, Spain, and that picture is both of my kids that went with me.
Hi everyone, again, my name is Laura. I'm a conservation and resource studies major, minoring in public policy, and I did an independent program summer 2021 and 2022 in Costa Rica, and it was a sea turtle expedition. And yeah, I'll tell you more about it.
Wonderful. So my first question for the panelists is, how did you make the decision to go abroad? And did being a first-generation student impact your decision-making process? Why don't we start with Rick and then go through in the same order?
Yeah, so my study abroad experience was a little accidental. I think I was going through Sproul, and then there was like a tabling thing going on, and I believe it was you, Brianne, that like sort of reached out to me, or so. And then it was something I had never considered at all. But once I had gotten the information and the locations, I was really attracted to the program. And being a first gen college student definitely impacted my decision making, because as first gen college students, a lot of our parents live vicariously through us. So a lot of my actions are based off of the fact that they couldn't do things that I'm able to. So it really made me want to go relate all these experiences to them, make them proud of all the things I'm doing out here. And it was amazing. Yeah.
So for me, to be honest, up until this moment, I cannot believe that I did it. Besides being a first gen, I'm also a DACA recipient. So if you're not familiar with DACA, I'm not allowed to leave the country. So it was a whole ordeal for me to actually make this possible. I have to utilize the resources of the immigration offices and lawyers from Berkeley. It was so many things that at various points throughout this Odyssey, I was about to give up. To be honest, it was just so hard for me to continue. Besides being a student parent, I was like, how am I putting myself in this position? But at the end, it was so worth it. I cannot believe that I did this, and then my children were able to experience this as well. And as Rick, it was accidental. Like, I seriously never imagined doing this. I just attended one info session for student parents abroad from the Student Parent Center. So I was like, let me just check it out. I'm not even going to do it. I mean, I have DACA. It's not going to be possible. But then I was like, you know what? Let's try this. I know that if it's going to be for me, it will happen. And I mean, I did it. So I'm so thankful for everyone that helped me through all this like ordeal, because it was an ordeal, and I will talk more about it.
Incredible.
Yeah, for me, it was also accidental. I didn't ever look into study abroad. I didn't even know we had a study abroad office, to be honest. And freshman year, my professor posted something about a program that where you would be able to do hands-on research with sea turtles, and I was really interested in it, and I applied to it, not thinking anything, and then I just was accepted pretty much right away. Because it's an independent program, so the process is a little different than if it was a Berkeley or UCEAP program. But I definitely was influenced by the fact that I'm a first gen, just in the fact that I wanted kind of to be the first in my family to, travel outside the country, because most of my family is undocumented. And so like many of the panelists have said, they would be able to live vicariously through me. And also they were also pretty nervous though, and they weren't very encouraging at first, but I think that I came to understand why, and because obviously they had never experienced it before, and so it was a little scary to think about, but now they're really happy for me. So yeah.
I love hearing those stories, how it all kind of came together organically, and it was almost an accidental process. So thank you all for sharing. My next question for you all is, what was your day-to-day like abroad?
So my day-to-day like abroad was, the thing is, there's a cultural shift when you go to these new countries. And in Stockholm, there was a large cultural shift due to the fact with the working environment, it's much more hands-off. And due to that, you can kind of wake up when you want and go to work when you want, so long as your work is done, but I still chose to go into the office every day. I would generally wake up, go have like a croissant or something at the local cafe, and then take the train into the city because we were just like 20 minutes right outside of the city. And yeah, I would show up at the office, we'd have our meeting, and then during lunch, there's a person here from Berkeley that he was working right across the street. So every day we just go grab lunch at this delicious buffet that I miss it so much. And then following that, it was just, yeah, like pretty much a bit more of work, do some presentations with the CEO. And after you'd get out, that's when you generally like text people within the group and just be like, hey, does anyone want to go grab dinner? Does anyone want to go grab drinks, go shopping? And every moment was pretty, unique in the fact that you don't waste any time there. Like you're all going through this experience together, this very magical and surreal experience. And yeah, and then like I'd say just, yeah, that was pretty much my day-to-day there. There was a few times when I would do something extravagant, like as you see here on this picture, midsummer with my flower crown kayaking. Yeah.
So for me, I was in Barcelona. Gorgeous, by the way, amazing city. I fall in love with the city, to be honest. So for me, I was not able to live in the student housing, so I have to have my own housing place. So I rented an Airbnb really close to La Sagrada Familia, which is like one of the landmarks in Barcelona. So my classes were Monday through Wednesday from 2 to 6 p.m. So I have the whole morning to walk. We walk a lot. We discover like little cafe places. And then on Thursdays, we used to have excursions with all of my peers. So the professor took us to all these places in Barcelona. And also I was able to take my children along with all of them, which was amazing that he allowed me to do that. And also on Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays, it was just for me, my kids, and I also took my brother and my aunt for childcare. So I took my whole family, basically. We used to like go around Barcelona. We went to a lot of places, like in the picture, we're in Parkwell, one of Antonio Gaudi's parks that he designed. And it was just amazing, like just seeing my kids, how amazing and how proud they were just walking around those places that you only see in books, to be honest. It was just like mind-blowing, and I'm very proud to have been able to experience this with my kids.
So for me, my program wasn't the conventional like take classes during the day and do whatever you want at night. My course was more like hands-on and made up of field studies, field work. And so the days really changed. They varied a lot, but for the most part during the day, we would do like cultural immersion activities and also have some lessons on sea turtle biology and ecology, not in a classroom, but on a soccer field or near the beach or in a random building. So it was really nice because sometimes for me, it's hard to concentrate in like regular classroom settings. And during the night, we would do our beach patrols, and they would vary. Sometimes we would start at 11 at night and end at 3 a.m. Sometimes we would start at midnight and end at 4 a.m. But that was the only time that sea turtles come out to nest. And so we would just walk to and from the beach, lots of miles. And then if any like sea turtles were nesting, we would take note of a lot of the data. So how many eggs they were laying, measuring their flipper, measuring their carapace, and taking just a lot of data because it was part of a bigger population estimate study, and we were just research assistants. And so it was really nice to get to do that. the days were really, really busy. It was a lot of physical activity. And there were days when we would go on excursions to other towns. And then there was one where we went to plant trees and we planted trees for like 3 hours. And then at night we came back and still did our beach patrols. So kind of physically demanding, but I really enjoyed it. I like that it wasn't the same thing every day, because it really made me feel like I was getting an experience with many different activities. And so yeah, I really enjoyed it.
Thank you all for sharing. As you can see from the student stories, the type of program that you choose can also really inform your day-to-day schedule, whether it's an internship program, a faculty-led program, or a theme-based program. I'm seeing some questions in the chat about classes, and so that leads into my next question. What classes did you take, and how did you fit them into your academic?
Yeah, regarding the global internships program, because it is an internships program, it heavily, focuses on that, but there is also a side of coursework that comes along with it. And firstly, the program overall fulfills the international breadth requirement, which is a great plus while you're abroad. And how this really pertains to my personal academic plan, it doesn't exactly, but the thing is, it makes you so much more embedded in the culture you're in, because in global internships, the 2 courses that you're offered, their whole purpose is so that you are really able to extract the most out of your experience. So just to give you guys a small layout of how it really functioned. We had a 4-day work week with our internship, and then 1 day per week was reserved for our in-person class with a Swedish instructor. And then we had 1 online course here with Berkeley. So the in-person course, that one is generally focused to give you more information about the country you're residing in, the politics, the history, all sorts of things. And what's really fun about that one is you go on excursions every week. So you're not just sitting in a classroom. You're also going out and seeing the museums. We went to parliaments. We went to some of the charity houses. So definite places you wouldn't go on your own that are still very interesting to see. So I'm very grateful for that experience. And then yeah, the other course, the online course, is very interesting as well, because it's a global citizenship course taught through Berkeley, and it really makes you reflect on your time while you're there. You're not just looking at this place going, oh, it's beautiful. Like, you have to exactly expand on why you find it's beautiful. What makes it different from your home country? What are the cultural shocks you feel? And do interviews with your coworkers that you're with and stuff. So yeah, very instrumental to my growth in Stockholm, and yeah, definitely recommend.
So for me, it was a faculty-led program, which was led by Dr. Pablo Gonzalez. He's on the Ethnic Studies Department. That class, it was a five-week program. It was called El Otro Lado, the other side, which it was a comparative view from the US-Mexico border immigration and the Mediterranean Corridor Sea. They every day, almost every day throughout those 5 weeks, we used to have organizations, humanitarian organizations, coming into our classroom and gave us all this perspective and how they had managed the asylum crisis and all of those immigration issues that has happened on the Mediterranean. And then we also compared those to the Mexico-US border immigration, which was amazing. As a DACA recipient and immigrant, I could relate to all their stories. There were times that everyone was crying in that classroom. It was just heartfelt, and it was so interacting because we actually had people coming into our class to give their perspective on their personal issues. And also, this class fulfilled both of my sociology major and also my Chicano studies minor. And I was able to just gain a whole different perspective of another type of immigration that we are very isolated from. We don't really talk about it, but it's there. And I'm also trying to become a professor, teaching sociology and focusing on immigration. So this was a key for me. And I was just so happy that I was able to do this. And I was able to experience this with everyone that made this possible for me.
I didn't really take classes, like I mentioned earlier. It was more so, well, we would have some discussions about sea turtle biology and ecology, and read some papers. And before I went on the program, there was a couple of lectures that we had to watch to have some preliminary knowledge on sea turtles. But while I was there, it was more like hands-on, like your learning experience was through the beach patrols. And so I really enjoyed that aspect. That was an independent program though. And so I don't expect that that's going to be the case for like all research programs, because every program is different.
Great, thank you all for sharing. So to touch a little bit more on the challenges that you all faced abroad, can you share more about any specific challenges that you all faced, maybe as first-gen students, and how did you overcome them?
One challenge that I faced really is, I would say, again, this isn't too much pertaining to my status as a first gen, but overall was the work environment. Being here from the United States and also my former time in the military, I am so used to like being directed every single move, not like taking a single step without getting a directive from above me. However, in Stockholm, that just like flipped completely. Like my CEO, like I would never ever like even look at a CEO, but here in Stockholm, it was like you can have conversations. It was, yeah, because usually here it just feels like there's a much larger difference, a much larger gap between like the intern and the CEO. Here in Stockholm, it's quite close. Everything's quite, and they want to hear your thoughts. And they literally give you your project and they're like, go do it. I want to see your creative side come through. And for the first, I think, 3 weeks, I kind of got on her nerves because my American mind kept going back to her. And I was like, well, what do you think about this? And do I have your permission to do this? May I? And she kind of sat me down and was like, you're good. I give you full control. Go ahead. Like, I want to like work all this week and then just show me what you have at the end of the week. So I'd say that cultural difference was hard to overcome. Just the work environment really, and coming back to here and readjusting was also kind of unique as well. But that was like my biggest barrier to overcome.
So for me, the challenge started when I took the plane to Barcelona, that 12-hour flight, but also with an advanced parole, there is no guarantee that you will be able to come back. Like it's on the officer's discretion. So meaning that if they say, hey, you can come back to the US, then I'll have to be deported back to Mexico, where I'm from. So that was the biggest and more fearful challenge that I faced. But I took the risk. I wanted to experience this because I knew that there was not going to be any other opportunity soon that I could see in the near future. So I was like, you know what, let me just do it. I went through all of this. Let's just go for it. So we spent 12 hours on the flight with both of my kids who had never been on a plane. So the first time it was a 12-hour flight. So that was hard. But when we arrived to customs in Barcelona, they saw my kids and my brother's US passport, and then they proceeded to check my passport, and it was a Mexican passport. They didn't ask any question to my 20-year-old brother because he had a US passport, but they did ask a lot of questions to me, maybe fearing that I might be staying over there, I don't know. But they kept asking me like, why are you here? For how long are you gonna be here? So I mean, I have to like give them all this information, which I was prepared. I have everything. Alex knew that I have everything ready. He helped me all the way through. So thankfully everything went smooth. So when we arrived to my Airbnb, that was another challenge because I didn't know that they did not have AC. So it was hot, like it was 110 degrees hot, like seriously hot. So the first day it was just hell, to be honest. It was horrible. My kids like were having rashes all over their bodies. We were not able to sleep. And then the following day I contact them and I say, hey, you put it on the amenities that you guys had AC and you guys don't have AC. So they brought me like 5 fans, which I mean, it worked out at the end. We adjusted, and I mean, I just overcame the little hurdle, and we enjoy our time over there. But it was definitely hard. And then when I came back, the officer that helped me in San Francisco, he asked me nothing. I swear, like I was not asked anything. They just say, give me your AP, your advanced parole. He just stamped it, sent me to a little room. We call it el cuartito. Maybe some of you are familiar with that. And they just say, hey, welcome to the US. And I cried, to be honest. Like, it was just amazing. Yeah. Thank you.
For me, I never, I had traveled when I was 3 to Mexico, and then I hadn't gotten on a plane since then. And so this was basically my first time traveling to another country as like my first time. So it was a little scary when I thought about it, especially because I was traveling by myself. No one else was doing the program with me, like from Berkeley. And so I had to figure everything out by myself. And because I had never traveled before to another country and no one in my family had, I thought that I needed to bring like so much stuff. And so I brought a full like luggage, and I brought a carry-on and a bunch of stuff that I didn't need. And when I got there, everyone else had like just a carry-on. And so little me was like kind of embarrassed because I was like, oh, I brought so much stuff and I was struggling to carry it. And everybody else was kind of like, they weren't mean about it, but they were like kind of laughing at me. And it was, now in retrospect, it kind of like does make me feel a little bit sad, but I know that, but now I have that experience where I know that I don't need to pack so much. And so the second time that I went, I only brought a carry-on, and it was much easier experience. But I think that it's always in the little things. So in the packing, like in the budgeting, like as a first-gen student, you don't know this because no one in your family like probably has traveled and has experience with these things. And so you have to learn that for yourself. And yeah, it was also really hot when I went, and humid. And every time I've gone to Costa Rica, at first it's terrible, but then I get used to it, and then I don't want to come back. And so yeah, I mean, the weather is going to be different wherever you go, and it's just a matter of like having an open mind and accepting the fact that you're not in the Bay Area. It's not going to be, pretty. It's not going to be temperate. And so just accepting that and trying to make the best of it. And yeah, those are the main things I kind of struggled with, but I think I've grown from them, and yeah.
You've absolutely grown from them, Laura. It's so heartening to hear the challenges that you all face, but how you all overcame and have grown and are really thriving now as a result. And so, Alma, you've touched on this. A few of you have touched on this already, but who has made your support system? Who makes up your support system, either before, during, or after your study abroad experience? And how did you strengthen that?
Yeah, so my support system, it sort of, my abroad experience, I kind of want, this is going to sound horrible, but I kind of wanted to like get away from my family. I was like, I need to get away from you guys. You guys are getting on my nerves. So my really support system through all this was friends. Friends that I have here that, we would keep in contact with, do checkups before I left. And then the one that I didn't expect so largely is the relationships and friendships that I forged out in Stockholm. That is like the most imperative one, because you're going through this together. It is beautiful, but there are culture shocks. You do miss home, and through those bonds, you become very supportive of each other. You go, like day to day, you guys go through these day-to-day activities with each other, new experiences, and yeah, just like simple things, because you're always hanging out with each other, and you just like you don't expect it. You become each other's support system. And even back here, coming back, I've made such great friends out in Stockholm, like they're from Berkeley and went with me, that we still hang out every day. I'm going to get lunch with one of my friends from Stockholm today. So it cracks open the door to new relationships that are just, it's a beautiful thing. And yeah, and then furthermore, for the Global Internships Program, they do offer a very, very good support system, like it's the liaisons, that it's their entire like occupation to help you adjust to the program, to answer any questions. So culturally, that was a very, very big help, because you have all sorts of questions when you get there, like what's acceptable socially, what should I do, what time does everything open? Yeah, so that was a very necessary support system. Like if you have any concerns, if you need like any mental health, speaking with someone, they're there for you. So that's a very good resource to have at your disposal. And yeah, it's just this entire system of services available to you, and it makes for very great support while abroad.
So for me, it was my parents who were also very afraid, but at the end they just gave in. They're like, okay, just go for it. It was also my brother and my aunt who helped me with childcare. They went abroad with me. Also, the East Bay Community Law Center, who helped me with my AP proceedings, and Alex. Alex, you you supported me all the way through, and forever I'm going to be grateful to you and for everything that you provided for me. Like, you were there. I bother you every single day, and I apologize for that, but you were amazing. If it wasn't for you, I swear that there were times that I was like, I'm not going to do it, but then you kept pushing. You always found a way to help me. So I'm so thankful for you. And you already know that, but again, thank you for everything. Like, you made this possible for me, and I'm so grateful for you. And I also think my friends were a great support system. And abroad, it was my professor and my friends who were also a great support system with my kids. Like, they also helped me. It was like a village, right? Like, I brought my kids and another peer brought their children as well. So it was just fun to have other student parents experience this with their children. Like, who gets to do that, right? It was just amazing. But thank you, and especially again, thank you, Alex, for everything that you've done. Like, my heart is so happy for you. Thank you, thank you.
My support system, my family was scared, but so they weren't at first very supportive. But I kind of just had to support myself and believe in myself that I could do it. And all the process, because this was an independent program, I figured it out myself. Like, I figured out how it was going to get paid for. I figured out how to get credit for it. I talked to my advisors. Like, I did everything myself. And so I'm just going to say that I was my biggest like support person. And I really like that, because it was a growing experience for me. Now, the second time I went, my parents were like more supportive of it and encouraging, because they're like, oh, you've done it before, you're fine. And after I studied abroad the first time, I started like traveling on my own and doing like solo traveling, like on trains and going to different states. And so now they trust me more. And also my friends, they pick me up like from the airport after. They were checking in on me when I was there, because I was going by myself, and so it felt nice to be checked on. But yeah, I really enjoyed that. I got to grow as an individual and really prove to myself that I could do a lot of things on my own.
Those are incredible stories. Thank you all for sharing. So to close us out with our last question, is there anything else you'd like to share about your experience as a first-gen student? Or another way to phrase that maybe is, what's some advice that you would give to other first-gen students in this session today?
Yeah, in regards to that, I would say that it's a very scary thing to consider studying abroad, because us as first-gen students, we don't have very many people in our social circles that have gone abroad. So it's very scary. But I would just offer the solid piece of advice is that there are little voices inside of your head that say, oh, you won't be able to do this, there's this blockade. do not let those dissuade you. This experience is going to be what you make of it. Like, for instance, my experience, there was like voice like, oh, my identity as a member of the queer community, will they accept me over there? Or I'm my status, like I'm 28 years old, will I even, like, I'll be much older than everyone else. Do not let those voices inside your head like sit in there, because this is an amazing experience. I went abroad, I went bungee jumping from a hot air balloon, kayaking, cliff jumping, all sorts of things, and I made the most out of this experience. So just please, you guys are all here for a reason, because there's something urging you to go. I implore you to book a session with us. We'd love to speak with you about our experience, your options. Yeah, just please go ahead and take this opportunity while you can.
So for me, the biggest piece of advice I could give to you is take the risk. It's so worth it. Like, if I took it, I'm pretty sure you're able to take it. And also, if some of you are going through the same situations that I face, I will drop my email and you can always contact me, and I'll be willing and happy to help you out through the process, because I learned so much just from managing everything and for making this possible. I think the first time that I didn't an info session, it was with Alex during this time. I remember that it was right before Thanksgiving. So it took us like more than the 6 months to plan this out. But if you just take the risk, and as my other peer mentioned, little voices will tell you not to do it, but don't listen to those voices, listen to your heart, because trust me, it's one of the best decisions that I have ever made. And everything that I went through was so well worth it. And this experience, I will be retelling to my everyone that cross paths with me. I'm so happy to always share my experience, and I'm here to support all of you if you guys want to reach out to me.
Yeah, I second everything that Alma and Rick just said. My biggest piece of advice would be keep an open mind. Don't like be stuck in your ways from like back home, because that's not how it's going to be abroad at all. And that can be a good thing, because it'll be such a great growing experience. And I don't know, just go for it. You won't regret it. Like, once you're there, you're going to wish that you had stayed longer.
Awesome. Thank you so much to our panelists. If everyone could give them a round of applause, use those reaction buttons. We are so grateful and honored to have heard your stories, and that you all would share your experiences and advice with us. Thank you to everyone who attended. We will be sharing the slides, but have a great rest of your day and week. Take care, everyone. There's definitely some love in the chat for you all panelists, so hopefully you all can read that before I close out. Bye, everyone.
Thank you for having us. It was a pleasure to meet all of you.
Thank you. Do we stay on?
Okay. Bye.
All right,
Thank
bye.
you.
Bye, Alex.
Bye, Alma. See you
See you
soon.
later.